Hi, in this video, we can see some GPAT model questions along with explanation. So question 1, which of the following vitamins increase reabsorption of mineral calcium and phosphorus? So here the given options are menaquinone, niacin, calcitrol and thiamine. So you can observe all these are vitamins we can observe. So you can see one by one what is the importance of menaquinone. So menaquinone is a vitamin K2. And what is a K1 is nothing but phylloquinone and K3 is nothing but menadione. So here the menaquinone is the vitamin K2. So this vitamin K produce the prothrombin. So prothrombin is a protein and clotting factor that is important in blood clotting and also in bone metabolism. And while coming to the niacin, niacin is a B3 vitamin. It turns food into energy. It helps to keep nervous system, digestive system and skin healthy. And calcitrol, we know that it is a vitamin D3. It helps to absorb calcium and phosphorus. And it is used to treat hyperparathyroidism, nothing but overactive parathyroid gland, and also to treat metabolic bone disease in people who have chronic kidney failure and are not receiving dialysis. So this vitamin D3 helps to absorb the calcium and phosphorus. And thiamine, so this thiamine is a vitamin B1 and helps to convert food into fuel. And the deficiency of this thiamine, we can observe the beriberi. This beriberi deficiency having the symptoms like loss of appetite, weakness, pain in limbs, swollen feet and or legs, and shortness of breath we can observe. So these are the vitamins given. So among these, calcitrol is the responsible to transfer the reabsorption of the mineral calcium and phosphorus. So answer is the calcitrol. And question 2, which of the following drugs has pK value of 8.6? So we know that pK is the negative log of the acid dissociation constant. So here the given options are morphine, paracetamol, diazepam and cocaine. So among these, if you observe that morphine, paracetamol and cocaine are having the pKa above 7 we can observe, and diazepam below 7 we can observe. So morphine having the pKa value 7.9 and paracetamol having the pKa value 9.5 and diazepam having the pKa value 3.4 and cocaine is having 8.6. So here the drugs having that pK value of 8.6 is nothing but cocaine. Question number 3. Equilibrium dialysis is the classic technique for. So here the 4 techniques are given. One is the reverse osmosis, protein binding, chemical kinetics and hydrophilic lipophilic balance. So if you observe each one, so you can easily get the what is the equilibrium dialysis in the classic technique. So first we can observe reverse osmosis. So we know that it is a process by which a solvent passes through porous membrane in the direction opposite to that natural osmosis when subjected to a hydrostatic pressure greater than the osmotic pressure. So this phenomenon only we are calling it as reverse osmosis. So while coming to the protein binding, so the equilibrium dialysis is a specific application of dialysis that is important for the study of the binding of small molecules and ions by proteins. So here the protein binding we can observe that we are studying in the equilibrium dialysis, the dialysis application. And while coming to the chemical kinetics, it is the branch of physical chemistry that is concerned with understanding the rates of chemical reaction. The rates of chemical reaction we are going to observe in the chemical kinetics. And in the case of hydrophilic lipophilic balance, that is HLB in short form, it is the balance of the size and strength of the hydrophilic and lipophilic moieties of a surfactant molecule. That is HLB balance. So here the equilibrium dialysis is the classical technique for protein binding. Question number 4. Co-solvency is described as the process where the solubility of an insoluble or slightly soluble drug is increased by. So by clearly observing these A, B, C, D options, so mixing them with water miscible solvents in which the drug is readily soluble. So that is only the answer. And the chemically converting the drug into a derivative which is appreciably soluble in water. So it is not linked to the co-solvency. and dissolving it in aqueous solutions in the presence of surfactant. It is also not related to co-solvency, and addition of additives which are not surface active. So it is also not related to the co-solvency. So the answer is the mixing them with water miscible solvents in which the drug is readily soluble. That we can call it as a co-solvency. And question number 5. Catecholamines are able to stimulate alpha adrenoreceptors in following descending order. So you can observe clearly the question given, that is descending order of the catecholamines which are going to stimulate the alpha adrenoreceptor. So the three options given, the three compounds catecholamines given here is the epinephrine, norepinephrine, isoproterenol. So descending order we should keep. So here we can I given the structures epinephrine, or we can also call it as adrenaline, and norepinephrine. So without a methyl group we can observe to this amino group. Norepinephrine we can also call it as noradrenaline, and isoproterenol we can also call it as isoprenaline. So you can observe the isopropyl group is attached to this nitrogen moiety. So the catecholamines are able to stimulate the alpha adrenoreceptors. We can observe the one figure I represented here, the maximal vasoconstrictor activity. Maximal vasoconstrictor activity we can observe in this graph. The epinephrine having the greater. So descending order means highest to lowest. So epinephrine having the highest vasoconstrictor activity as shown in this figure. Next we can observe the norepinephrine, and next we can observe the isoprenaline or isoproterenol. So the order of alpha adrenoreceptor stimulating activity of catecholamines in the descending order is the epinephrine, norepinephrine, and isoprenaline. So C is the answer you can observe. And question number 6. Which of the following is not a property of cyclopropane? So we know that cyclopropane, so it is a planar, and the angle is 109.5 degrees. So if you observe that bond angle in this, it is a propane. So this structure is the propane. So bond angle you can observe is the 109.5 degrees you can observe. But in the case of cyclopropane, so the bond angle is 60. So which one is the not a property? It is asking not a property in the question. So it is the wrong answer. B is the wrong answer. So the angle of cyclopropane is 60 degrees. In case of cyclobutane, we can observe the angle is 90 degrees we can observe. And we can observe here the another options given is that it contains eclipsed bonds. Yeah, this cyclopropane is consisting of eclipsed bonds. So you can observe the structures are given here, 2D and 3D forms are given. So you can observe the hydrogens are present, eclipsed form, these hydrogens are represented we can observe in the cyclopropane. So correctly oppositely the hydrogens are present, eclipsed state, and highest ring strain. So due to the 60 degrees only we can observe instead of 109.5 degrees. So more ring strain is present in the cyclopropane. So option A must be planar. So it is correct option and contains the eclipsed bonds and also highest ring strain. But the wrong one is nothing but here is the angle is 109.5 degrees. So answer is the B option. And question number 7, strontium 90 is. So it is a pure gamma emitter or only an alpha rays emitter or a pure beta emitter or a beta and gamma emitter. So here we can observe that given the strontium 90. So this strontium 90 is a isotope. So the normal strontium is nothing but the 87.62 molecular weight you can observe, and its atomic number is 38 strontium. So it is color is indicating this alkaline earth metal, this one alkaline earth metal, and this bar, blue color bar, is indicating the physical state, that is solid in physical state, and this is indicating the face centered cubic shape you can observe this strontium, and it is a strong basic we can observe. So this is somewhat description I given for the strontium. And while coming to this question, so strontium 90 decays by emission of a beta particle. So only it is a pure beta emitter. It is a pure beta emitter with a maximum energy of 0.546 milliequivalents and the creation of a yttrium. So after decaying by the beta particle, it is going to give the yttrium 90 isotope, which is also unstable. This yttrium is unstable in nature, and this yttrium again decaying and also giving the, by decaying with the beta particle and gamma ray emission, and it is giving the zirconium 90 isotope. So this is the decay process we can observe for the strontium 90 to yttrium 90, yttrium 90 to the zirconium 90. So answer is it is a pure beta emitter. Coming to the question number 8. So ketoxime is converted to N-substituted amides through an acid catalyzed conversion known as. So it is a well-known, we can observe the rearrangement reaction of ketoxime to N-substituted amides. That is nothing but Beckmann rearrangement. So here the ketoxime in the presence of acidic condition, by heating condition, you can observe it is converting into amide form. So you can call it as a Beckmann rearrangement. So in the next slide, we can observe what is the reaction we can observe in the pinnacolone rearrangement, Baeyer-Villiger oxidation and benzoic acid rearrangement. So first you can see pinnacolone rearrangement. It is a very important process in the organic chemistry for the conversion of 1, 2 diols. So here you can observe in the figure 1, 2 diols. So adjacently we can observe the OH groups are present. We can also call it as a vicinal. 1, 2 diol, also we can call it as vicinal carbons or vicinal alcohols we can observe. So this 1, 2 diols converting into a carbonyl compounds containing a carbon-oxygen double bond. So you can observe the carbon-oxygen double bond it is forming. This pinnacle is converting into pinnacolone. So this is done via a 1, 2 migration which takes place under acidic condition. Under the acidic condition this takes place, we can observe 1, 2 migration, and the rearrangement you can observe pinnacolone. And next is the Baeyer-Villiger oxidation. It is an organic reaction that forms an ester from a ketone. So you can observe the ester is ketone is converting into ester form. Ketone is converting into ester form either in the acyclic or cyclic. We can observe the ketone is converting into ester form, cyclic ketone, using a peroxy acids or peroxides as the oxidants. So you can observe the peroxy acid or peroxides as a oxidant. We can observe those are converting the ketone into ester. So this type of reaction we are calling it as Baeyer-Villiger oxidation. And while coming to the benzoic acid rearrangement, so in this we can observe 1, 2 diketones. 1, 2 diketones undergoing the rearrangement in the presence of strong base. The presence of strong base to yield the alpha hydroxy carboxylic acids. So alpha position you can observe the OH group is present, alpha hydroxy carboxylic acid. This is we can consider as a benzoic acid rearrangement, benzoic rearrangement. And question number 9, which of the following is a highly stable free radical? So here given all the free radicals they given: methyl radical, secondary radical, tertiary radical and primary radical. So you can observe the electron poor species are stabilized by neighboring atoms. So electron poor species, that means electron deficient species. So this deficiency they are overcoming by neighboring atoms that can donate electron density. So the neighboring atoms can able to donate the electron density. So here is the observation that increasing the number of alkyl groups, so more groups are attaching with the carbon atom. So it is more possible to take the electrons. So the electron deficiency is going to overcome. So increasing the number of alkyl groups on the carbon bearing the free radical increases its stability. This is a phenomenon we can observe in the stability of free radicals. So the radical stability increasing in the order is the methyl is less than primary, and primary is less than secondary, and secondary is less than tertiary. This is the order of stability we can observe. More stable one is the tertiary, and somewhat less stable secondary, less stable primary, and less stable methyl. So which one is the highly stable is nothing but the tertiary radical. So here I given the radicals also. So it is a methyl radical, only CH3 radical, and primary radical. So one methyl group is present, one hydrogen replaced with the methyl group, primary radical. And secondary radical you can observe the 2 methyls are present, and tertiary radical 3 methyls are present to the radical. So increasing of methyl groups, the number of methyl groups or alkyl groups are increasing means, so it is having the dilation of electron density you can observe, so increasing of stability. So tertiary radical is more stable when comparing with the methyl radical. So answer is the tertiary radical. And question number 10, which metal is usually used to shield the source in Geiger-Muller counter. So Geiger-Muller counter is an instrument for detecting ionizing radiations consisting of a gas-filled tube in which electric current pulses are produced when the gas is ionized by radiation, and of a device to register these pulses used chiefly to measure radioactivity. So this GM counter is nothing but to measure the radioactivity you can observe. So it is going to find out the all alpha, beta and gamma rays is going to estimate it, and this gas filled tube, it is completely coated or shielded with the lead material. So it is not going to shielding with the zinc, copper and gold. So completely it is shielding with the lead we can observe. So here I given the some differences between the alpha particle, beta particle and gamma ray. So the type of radiation, this alpha, beta and gamma, and symbol we can see for the alpha, that is alpha 24, or it is similar to that of the atomic number and weight of helium. And for beta particle, beta minus negatron we can observe, and gamma ray, and charge for the alpha particle is the +2, and for beta particle is -1, and for gamma ray is no charge we can observe, it is a neutral. And speed, if you are observing to this radiation of alpha particle is very slow and beta particle is somewhat fast, and gamma ray is having very fast you can observe. And ionizing ability, so due to the large molecular weight, it is having the more ionizing capacity. So when it is binding with that any molecule, it is bombarding with the molecule, easily it will ionize the other substance, alpha particle. So in comparing with this alpha particle, beta particle is having the medium ionizing ability, and gamma ray having the zero ionizing ability. And penetrating power, due to the large molecular weight, it is not going to penetrating that much, so it is going to stop even by the paper also. And in the case of beta particle, so the penetrating power is through the medium, so aluminum also it is going to cross, so aluminum can be stopped with these rays. And gamma rays, high penetrating power we can observe, even though it is going to stop we can by using lead. So that's why the lead coating we can observe to the, or shielding we can observe in the Geiger-Muller counter. So it is not good, the gamma rays cannot able to cross from the Geiger-Muller counter by coating with the lead material. So answer is lead. So if you like this video, please subscribe my channel and share to your friends. Thank you for listening.